All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of the Confident PCOS Kitchen. My name is Maggie Conley. If you're new to the community and you just joined us for the challenge, I'm a registered dietitian. I'm a fellow PCOS patient, and my specialty is in PCOS and culinary nutrition. My goal is to help you reduce stress in the kitchen around food, around what to eat for PCOS. This challenge is about helping you become confident in the kitchen so you can make little tweaks to your normal routine where you don't have to feel like you change everything. This week, we're going to be talking all about fiber, which is my most favorite topic to talk about when it comes to PCOS. I feel like in the diet world and PCOS community, people are always talking about like eliminating carbs or more protein, but fiber is probably one of the best kept secrets when it comes to managing blood sugar, decreasing inflammation, just helping overall health. So we have a lot to talk about tonight. If you haven't watched week 1, you can head over to my YouTube channel. It's the PCOS Cooking School. Next week, we'll also do a live for week 3. Next week, we're going to be doing protein. So tonight, we're talking about fiber, and I'm going to make a high fiber sheet pan dinner that's really easy and delicious and full of different types of fibers. You would have already received your ebook today about fiber. And then the rest of the week, you're also going to be getting some cooking videos, tons of high fiber recipes, handouts on how to make like no recipe recipes around high fiber meals. What else are we going to do this week? Just top fiber foods. So you could try to incorporate those. So pretty much any kind of resource that you can imagine around fiber. So let's dive into what I wanted to discuss today. Fiber is one where people are like, yes, okay, but how do I actually get it in? And that could be a big challenge. Now, fiber is a type of carbohydrate. It's found in plants only. Unlike other types of carbs, you can digest fiber. It feeds that healthy bacteria in your gut and allows them to grow and proliferate and kind of crowd out the bad bacteria in your gut. And doing that does a lot of good things. One, it can help reduce the inflammation because it's going to form a nice thick lining of gut bacteria. That's going to help decrease inflammation in the body. It also helps with your immune system. Besides digestion, we know that high fiber diets can help with preventing heart disease and blood sugar control and weight management. So it's kind of like, I don't want to say the miracle, but it's so important. And most people don't get enough of it. It's estimated that Americans get about 15 grams of fiber, and women of childbearing age need about 25 at least. And I always like to tell my clients to hit 30, 35 grams. So I want you to know that animal products do not contain any fiber. So meat, dairy, eggs, no fiber. It's only in plant foods. There are 2 different types of fiber. We have soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. You're going to be getting a handout with this with examples, but I just want to go over a little quickly. We want a combination of both. Like, yes, we don't only want soluble, we want some insoluble. So soluble dissolves in water and it forms a gel-like substance in your gut. And this is what helps lower your blood sugar levels and your cholesterol levels. It slows digestion down. So things leave your stomach really slowly and enter your intestines really slowly. So your blood sugar has a nice, like, gentle rise to it instead of a spike. That's what really helps control your blood sugar levels and your insulin levels. And we know that high insulin levels are really the driver of most of our symptoms. And if you want to learn more about that, make sure you check out the YouTube video I have about the insulin resistance meal plan. And I'll be posting another video about what is insulin resistance this coming week. So make sure you subscribe to that channel. But soluble fiber will help with blood sugar management, and it also helps lower your cholesterol levels. That's important for PCOS because we do have high risk of developing heart disease, and it's also Heart Health Month. So it's kind of like perfect. Foods that are high in soluble fiber are oats, are apples, beans, carrots, oranges. One of the recipes you'll be getting this week is a blender oat recipe with lemon and blueberry. And it's so good. And that's a super high fiber recipe that has a lot of soluble fiber in it. The other type of fiber is insoluble. So it does not dissolve in water. What this does, it helps by bulking up your stools to helps push things through. So this really helps eliminate constipation. If that's something that you suffer with. So if you're on a low fiber diet, or if you're on iron supplements or any kind of medication that causes constipation, you definitely want to up that soluble fiber. This will be whole grain breads, vegetables like cauliflower, some brown rice, almonds, green beans. Most foods are going to have a combination of both. So it's not like don't have to count it. It's just we want that total amount. That's why it's so difficult to meet fiber goals if you're cutting out carbohydrates, because you need to consume the plants like whole grains, beans, nuts, seeds, fruits, and vegetables to reach those fiber goals. Most people just don't get enough. And I honestly, with my clients, I'm always talking about fiber, and yes, protein's important too. But I'm like, hey, which one do you want to concentrate on? And honestly, if we concentrate on just like one, especially fiber, you're going to get what you need because you're going to get more antioxidants in. You're going to get lower caloric intake because you're hitting those fiber goals. So I say if we focus on fiber, really everything else kind of falls into place. And that just is a lot easier, I think, when it comes to managing a condition or your diet, not have to worry about restricting. It's more of like, hey, I need to eat this chia pudding because it has 13 grams of fiber in it or something like that. Looking through our ebook that we sent out, some of the high fiber foods, I wanted to go over those because a lot of times people don't know what foods are really high in fiber, and that's totally understandable. So some of like I call the heavy hitters, which can be helpful to get them into your diet a little bit more consistently if you need to. A cup of cooked lentils has 15 grams. Black beans have 15 grams per cup. Chia seeds have 10 grams per ounce. Raspberries have 8. Frozen raspberries are really like the ones I recommend because you can get them all year round and it's a lot cheaper. Whole wheat pasta will have 6 grams per cup of cooked. An apple has 5.5 grams of fiber. I always tell my clients a story about when I was pregnant and my doctor was like, oh, just take some Metamucil for the constipation. When I looked at the label, it was like all this powder and it was really gross. I had to drink it. It was for 4 grams of fiber. I was like, are you kidding me? Why would I spend all that money on that supplement and I have to drink this disgusting drink when I could just eat an apple? So that's where I want you to say maybe all you need to do this week is pick one high fiber food like an apple and add that in every day or a couple times a week. Oatmeal is another high fiber one, so 4 grams per cup. Then you have almonds and carrots and broccoli. And you have this list if you signed up for the challenge. If you're watching this on YouTube later, there'll be a link below that you can go in and sign up for the Confident PCOS Kitchen. And you'll get a series of all the emails with all the handouts and the replays. Okay, so let's talk the benefits of fiber. It really does support digestion. So that insoluble fiber helps with the constipation and keeps things moving. It also, I think what we all really want is that blood sugar control. So soluble fiber is slowing down that blood sugar rise. So it's slowing down digestion, slowing that blood sugar rise. That's going to better support your hormones. When we don't have that big insulin spike, you're not going to have the high testosterone that's going to be released by your ovaries. Then it also lowers your cholesterol. So it does that by binding the bile in your digestive system and you just poop it out. So that helps naturally lower your cholesterol levels by removing that bad LDL cholesterol. It also really helps support weight management. Eating these really high fiber foods help you feel full and stay full and feel satisfied for a longer time. That's why we're always talking about that combination of protein, fat, and fiber. So you feel full, satisfied. You can eat every 3 to 5 hours. You're not feeling ravenous. And also, if you're taking like a GLP-1 medication, it's really important to get a lot of fiber in as well. And then we have lots of research that shows that a high fiber diet is linked to lower risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and certain types of cancers. And then, of course, it also feeds that gut microbiome that I talked about before. So it helps that good bacteria grow. So many times people will spend a lot of money on a probiotic, which is, there's some really great ones out there. And you could also get them from food like yogurt, as a natural source of probiotics. But it's important to remember that you can take the probiotic, the bacteria, but you have to actually feed it. You have to give it its prebiotic, which is the type of fiber that it likes to eat and digest so it grows. So if you don't eat the fiber to feed it, there's no point. So then you're just wasting that money. One of the best prebiotic fibers, just something like bananas and onions. So these are very common foods in our diet. Most people use them quite often. It doesn't have to be something super complicated or a different supplement that you have to buy. Okay, so let's talk about how you're going to add some more fiber. I'm going to start cooking and I'm going to keep talking about how we're going to add some fiber into our diet. I'm going to be making a Mediterranean sheet pan roasted chickpea and veggie sheet pan dinner situation with some feta and some spices. You could add shrimp, you could add chicken, you could keep this vegetarian, you could do tofu. It's a great way of getting that fiber in that's going to taste delicious. So I just have a large sheet pan. Gonna put down some parchment paper just to make cleanup easier. This is kind of like what we do inside the PCOS meal prep membership. It's just my online membership where I support people in the kitchen each week we have a weekly meal plan and we get together to do meal prep together. We make recipes from like start to finish. There is like accountability and support. It's really good if the individual has like ADHD and they need that body doubling, or you just need that accountability, or you have questions, you need help with like coaching, setting goals, or just have nutrition questions. You can use sessions kind of whatever would help you reach your goals. So for this recipe, let me pull up the recipe so I can show you guys what we're going to be, or tell you guys what we're going to be making. You'll be getting this tomorrow in an email. So the sheet pan Mediterranean roast chickpeas and vegetables. We're going to need 2 cups of chickpeas, drained and rinsed, a pint of cherry tomatoes. Here, I'm going to use a bell pepper, red and yellow bell pepper. We got a red onion, broccoli, olives, feta cheese, olive oil, and then we have some oregano and thyme. I don't want you to skimp on herbs and seasonings because these can be great sources of antioxidants in your life. So that we'll use a lot of that. Some garlic powder. We're also going to need salt and pepper, lemon, and some parsley if you'd like. So we're going to start building. It's really easy. I'm just going to be dumping everything onto the sheet pan and adding the seasonings. I'm just going to trying to make sure you guys can see is that everything. I'm going to start chopping my vegetables and hopefully I don't cry with the onion. I have this really large red onion. The first step is to preheat your oven to 400. I'm just going to cut the onion in half, take off the skin. I love using purple onions because it's a way to get that purple color into my diet. But besides fiber, I'm always talking about like different colors because that helps reduce inflammation. But it can be a little tricky to get this color in. Okay, so when it comes to adding fiber in, it might be good to first assess how much fiber you're actually taking in because you don't want to be going from maybe 10 to 30 grams right away. I generally recommend that you start to increase really slowly, maybe 5 grams or so per week. So if you're not used to having like a piece of fruit every day, start there. Have like an apple or a pear or some strawberries or melon, something like that. But pick one of those high fiber foods and add those in each day until you work up to that 30, 35. Because if you go too quickly, your digestive system will hate you. There'll be so much gas and bloating. And that's what a lot of people have trouble with is like they'll be like, oh, I'm going to start adding in fiber. And then they'll do chia pudding and then they'll make chia pudding overnight oats. And then they'll have a big salad and then they'll have an apple with peanut butter and then they'll have something else for dinner. And before you know it, they have so much fiber going on at once. Your gut is just not used to it. So you have to take it slow. And you also want to make sure like when you are at like that peak fiber, you're spreading your fiber out throughout the day. So you're not just getting all your fiber in at once. I try to recommend trying to hit 7 to 10 grams of fiber per meal. It's just like an easy way to kind of be like, okay, when I pick recipes, sometimes I end up with like a smoothie or a chia pudding that has a lot more, and that's totally fine. My cherry tomatoes, you know what? I'm going to keep these whole because they're so tiny. So I'm just going to dump the cherry tomatoes onto the sheet pan, but I'm going to cut up my peppers. For the peppers, I generally cut off the bottoms. Then I will stand it up so it's flat, cut down, and then I can come in and just take away the inner core. Then I have a nice flat pepper to kind of go and then make some long strips with. And I don't waste any of that pepper because they're not cheap. You could definitely use green peppers if you'd like. I just prefer the sweet flavor of a red bell pepper and the yellow bell pepper versus the green. Okay, so the other thing you want to do while you're increasing your fiber is you need to drink plenty of water. You need to really evaluate how much hydration am I actually getting in? Because if you're taking in soluble fiber that is meant to absorb water, it could end up causing a lot of issues. So we need to make sure you're giving your body enough water to flush everything through so you don't end up with like a blockage or constipation from not having enough water. It's going to move these bell pepper seeds out of the way. And again, I'm just going to cut into strips. This whole meal you could meal prep and put into a bag and then dump onto a sheet pan and roast later in the week if you wanted, or just cook up earlier in the week. So you could add it as a side dish to whatever you were having that week. Because this would be great with like a rotisserie chicken. So you could do a little bit of work and then grab a chicken and then have a simple dinner. I'm going to add my can of chickpeas and then I'm going to add some broccoli too. So it says a cup. I'm just going to cut off a good amount and I'll use the rest in another thing. Another thing I'm trying to do when I roast vegetables is if they're different textures, like these are soft compared to like a hard vegetable. If I was roasting like a carrot versus broccoli, I'm going to try to make sure that they are all similar sizes so they'll cook at the same time, same rate, because I'm putting them on the same sheet pan together. Otherwise, if I'm cooking a lot of different types of vegetables and textures, I will put them on maybe 2 sheet pans and kind of group them together. So I would do like a zucchini and a bell pepper together, and then maybe a sweet potato and carrots together as well. Okay, so I'm just going to add all of this broccoli. Now we're going to start adding some seasonings and some olive oil. So 2 tablespoons of olive oil. This is a great healthy monounsaturated fat. You do want to have fat in your meal because fat doesn't affect your blood sugar and it makes you full and satisfied. And all this color, the reds and the yellows and even the greens, you need fat to help absorb some of these fat soluble vitamins. So this is garlic powder. I love that because it's so much easier than having to like chop up more garlic. And if you weren't talking while making this, you probably could make it even quicker. This is dried thyme. I like using dried spices because then I don't have to worry about like, do I have it in my fridge? And again, these are great sources of antioxidants, phytochemicals. So a teaspoon of dried thyme. And then we're going to do a very Greek inspired flavoring and do some dried oregano, a teaspoon of dried oregano. And then salt and pepper. At the end is when I'll put some lemon juice on top right before serving and add that feta cheese as well. And then black pepper. The one thing is that you do want to make sure you are adding the seasonings, the salt, the pepper, and then the herbs and spices, because that will help make all these vegetables taste really delicious. Otherwise, it's just kind of bland and boring and no one really will want to eat it. The goal to get all this fiber in is to make sure you have really delicious meals. So I want you to check out some of the recipes that I'll be sending you this week via email. There's a game day chili, which is actually like perfect because Super Bowl coming up. Some breakfast recipes, lunch recipes. All right, awesome. This looks so beautiful. I'm just going to give my hands a rinse and then I'm pop it in the oven. Okay. So I want to keep this here. It's just like so pretty. I love all the colors and the diversity of plants. That's going to help me meet my goal of plant diversity for every week. And that's like a whole different challenge we could talk about. But I wanted to talk about some ways, some simple tips that you can increase your fiber. So if you do like to consume bread, which who doesn't, you might want to try using a whole grain bread or a whole wheat bread or a sprouted grain bread. Those are great options. Whole grain cereals, those can be a great option to sprinkle on top of like high fiber whole grain cereals on top of your yogurt versus like a granola. So those whole grain pastas, fruits, vegetables, especially ones with the skin on when it's safe to eat, those are ones that are going to be even higher in fiber. So pears are super, super high in fiber. Beans and lentils, you can add them to pretty much anything. You can add them to soups and salads and tacos. I add them to nachos. I add it to burgers, pasta sauce, pasta. When in doubt, I feel like you can always add a can of beans. That's like my biggest thing. And my family doesn't really like that, but we need to get more fiber in. You can snack on nuts and seeds and air pop popcorn. Those are all great sources of fiber. And then use chia seeds or ground flax seeds in your yogurt, your oatmeal, or in smoothies. And remember that little tiny changes can make a huge impact on your health. And you don't want to go too crazy with the fiber, and you want to pick one high fiber food to add in each week until you're feeling good and you're hitting that 30 grams a day. So I hope you guys like this recipe. I hope you take a look at all the supportive materials that you'll be receiving this week. I can't wait to dive into next week, but fiber is always my favorite. So I'm going to show you this. I'm going to roast that. And then when I follow up with the email tomorrow, I will put a picture of the finished dish in the email so you guys can see it. Hope you have a wonderful night, and I'll see you guys next week.